I want to show you a little something. Hold on. This is my cell phone. It cost me about 25 euros. I think I bought it maybe 3 years ago. I'm not even sure. As you can see, very cheap, very old, very robust though. Impossible to break, I think. And the reason why I am showing you my cell phone, this shitty tiny thing, is because I want to talk about why I have that kind of cell phone and the ideas behind it. I want to talk about how people spend their money. So materialism versus spending money on making experiences. Okay, so let's get right into it. I know a lot of people, and actually most of the people I know are kind of like that. They put a lot of value on owning things. They really think it's important to have the nicest, newest iPhone. They think it's very cool to have their own car. They definitely want to have their own big flat once they graduate from university and start working. They want to have a nice couch in their living room. They want to have a nice and big flat screen TV. So they want all these things, and obviously they spend a lot of money on getting these things. And I quite frankly never understood that. I really think that it is a lot more important to make experiences and spend money on that rather than spend money on owning things. So I never really got this materialism. As you can see, shitty tiny cell phone, but it works. I can text and I can call. That's all I know. That's all I need. I don't really need a big apartment. I'm totally fine with sharing my apartment with other people, even when I'm working, and just having my own room. I don't need a car. I can ride my fucking bike. I don't need a car. I don't need to spend 20,000 euros on a car if I can do so much more valuable things with that kind of money. So what do I spend my money on? I actually love traveling. That's, I think, a major one, and traveling still is expensive. It got a lot cheaper over the last couple of years, but it's still expensive especially if you want to go onto a different continent or travel in really expensive countries like Scandinavia, which I love. Second of all, I love spending money on education. So I love spending money on books and things that I believe make me smarter in a way that it gives me new ideas and new ways of thinking about things. So this is the second big one that I spent money on. And then I do have to admit I do spend money on things like, for example, this iPad that I'm recording with right now, just because it is really handy if you want to record videos. You gotta have a camera. So I do have, of course, certain kind of technology that is just necessary if you want to do the kind of stuff that I'm doing. But I never spent money on things that are not essential to my life. And I noticed that so many people put so much value on the things they own, and yet there's no real feeling of satisfaction. There's no real feeling of joy that comes from that. It might come for like a very short period right after they purchased something, but it is never that a year or two after they made that purchase, they're still just extremely happy about it. Whereas when I go traveling, for example, this is a memory that I'm gonna keep for the rest of my life. For example, last year I went to Brazil. It was a pretty fucking expensive vacation. I went there for 5 weeks. I went to see the World Cup final. I was traveling with my buddy. We had to pay for flights and accommodation and food and whatnot. So I spent quite a bit of money on that trip, but I am absolutely certain that I will never ever forget all the incredible memories that I get to keep from that vacation. And I'm also 100% sure that it made me a lot happier in the short run as much as in the long run than, you know, spending the money on a new iPhone or whatnot. So I think it is very important to see money as a tool, and you can decide on what you want to do with that tool. So usually people try to make themselves happy, and yet they don't really know what makes them happy. So if you go for buying stuff, if you go for that kind of instant gratification, then you should be aware of the fact that the feeling of joy that it gives you right when you buy it, it is fleeting. It is gonna disappear very, very quickly. Whereas making experiences together with other people, really sharing these kind of experiences, is something so much more valuable to me personally, and it brings me so much more joy. So if you, like me, see money as something that you use in order to make your life better, that you use to make your life more valuable, that you use to bring more joy into your life, then I would highly recommend that you evaluate your spending habits of your salary or your income in terms of what really brings the best ROI, what brings the best return on investment, and not just in the short run, but in the long run. Where do you get the most joy for the least amount of money? And I know that's a very strategic way to think about this kind of topic. I guess that's just how my mind works, but I really found it to be working very well for myself. I really noticed that it doesn't bring me that much joy, that much happiness to spend money on things that I own. So I rather spend money on things that I can do or things that have a long-term positive effect on my life. So with that in mind, talk to you next time.